This is just to show you how north Svalbard is. Svalbard rather. There's Sweden and Norway, and of course then the UK is supposedly down there. There's Iceland, Greenland, and so you know Svalbard is in the North Pole. Most northerly place that people live. And as you can see, they live there for months without the sun. From now till March, the sun will not rise in her perspective, although it will be there, but it's still so low, it never comes over the mountains. So I'm just going to go and have a look at the place in Russia that we were looking up a few months ago. Because she's not talking about leaving her engine on and all that like they are, because the temperatures get so cold. Let's look at the temperatures here. The average temperatures on Svalbard range from 3 to 7 Celsius in July, and in winter to -13 to -20. So it's warmer here than it is in Russia and China. Do you get that? Do you get that? The highest temperature was 23. Yeah, just like Greenland has the same temperatures as us as well. Not this side of Greenland, the other side of Greenland, and there you go. But it can get to -46. -51 Fahrenheit. So it's quite cold, but generally their temperatures are higher than Russia. Anyway, back to the video.
Guys, do you know what? Today is the last day before the polar night. So let me show you. Right now it's 10:43 in the morning. And our sunrise today is at 12:26 p.m. and then the sunset is at 12:54 p.m. So roughly 20 minutes later is the sunset, and then tomorrow the polar night is officially started. How crazy is that? So from tomorrow on we have nothing but darker days coming. Well, I mean, we've had that now as well, but there will be no sun until February. Yeah, I'm gonna find the exact date. So let's take a closer look at the next sunrise and the next sunset. So here we have the whole plan for October month, and we can see civil twilight, nautical twilight, everything. And here it says on the 27th of October, it's down all day. So from tomorrow, it is down all day up until February. So if we look at January, you'll see that it's just going to say down all day because we have absolutely no sun at all, and also no civil twilight. And then in February, in the middle of February, it will go above the horizon. But we still won't see it here in Longyearbyen. It's not until March we actually see it in town. But what's also interesting is if you look at civil twilight, when the sun is 6 degrees below the horizon, where we can still see some light, we have that up until the middle of November. So from November, that is when we have absolutely no daylight at all. No light is reaching us. So that's a great way to see what kind of, light you will be getting up here on Svalbard. If there's civil twilight, we have that little blue light, which is beautiful. But from mid-November, we have nothing. So right now we are just...
So, from the end of October, because she filmed this a few days ago, to at least the end part of February, but beginning of March, till she sees the sun again. See, up there in Svalbard, they live for 6 months in the dark. So they can manage to live without the sun. Things still grow on here. Animals still live, which is probably why they hibernate. Or it's because of things like this, because there's so much dark. Anyway, let's continue.
Waiting for that, which I love. And then in March, we celebrate Sunfest, which is what you're seeing here. This was this year's Sunfest, and it was so many people there, and it was beautiful. And that is when we see the sun for the first time in the village. So we count it down and we celebrate. But look at how beautiful this day is. But of course, we won't be able to see the sun because it is behind all the mountains. So we won't see the sun. Yeah, we might see the sunset, but we're not seeing the sunrise because it's not gonna come this high. I think it's all behind the mountains. But I'm gonna wait here till 12:26 today to see if I can see a sunrise. And then we'll see if 12:54 if there is a sunset. But I have a feeling it's just gonna be like this, just beautiful. Oh, it's cold. I think it's like -8 degrees Celsius in regular temperature, and then it's a bit windy. That is it, guys. It's official. It's polar night. Looks the exact same as before, of course. But yeah. Goodbye, sun.
Everybody thinks the light and the sun are the same thing, but she's going into twilight and having no sun. Wow, well, we only get 6-7 hours of it, whereas we get 18 in the summer, and she gets 24 hours a day. But for some reason, the sun is still rising, but it can't get past all those mountains, so it's low. I wonder if everybody's worked that out. It's that low in the sky, in our sky. But anyway, let's move on with the video.
I read an article once where a journalist traveled to Longyearbyen to make a piece about the polar night. He wanted to hear from the locals about how difficult it was, and said he expected to hear how everyone thought it was the worst time of the year. But he was surprised. He said that most people he talked to told him about the wonderful polar night, how our village becomes an even more tight-knit community, how the polar night is a beautiful time of year. I think when you live this far north in a place with extreme weather and seasons, you learn to appreciate it all. I'm not saying that everyone loves the polar night, but since we've all moved here into this world, we take it for what it is. I, for one, love the polar night so much, but I don't love the last months of midnight sun. But it's all part of living this far north. It's part of the magic of the Arctic. It's official, guys. It's the polar night. And what's so crazy is that you can even see the difference in the day. Because right now it's 10 something. Let me check. It's 10:22 in the morning. So it's 20 past 10 in the morning. And yesterday the sun would go above the horizon. So you would still see like a bit of sunshine on the other side and, you know, some sort of side of the sun. But now there's none. So the sun is gonna not rise above the horizon until next year in March. That is just crazy. It might actually go above the horizon at the end of February. I'm gonna double check that. I'm out here with Grim looking at the view. And we have the moon. Let me show you. Can you see it? I want to show you the moon because we're gonna have a lot of moons now. There it is. Look.
Lovely Cecilia, having the life that she loves up in Svalbard. I know it might not appeal to everybody, but that's what they want and they're really happy there. Well, I came here to look at how she lived. I wanted to see how different hers was to the Russians. I just wanted to see how different her life was to the people in Yak, whatever it is, which I'll show you in a minute, in Russia, and even China, because that's the third pole with icebergs, as she lives in the North Pole. So it's called Yakutsk. Oh, I can't say it, but there it is. You can see it. Yakutsk. Yes, their temperatures go up to 26, if not higher, in the summer. there's June, July and August, yeah, that they have hotter weather. And on the other thing I was looking at, or if it's this one, I can't remember now because we're doing two things at once, they had a few hours of light even in the winter, whereas Svalbard doesn't. Yes, anyway, and as said, they're saying it's colder in Siberia because the air has to come over the land, over the tundras, and when it goes over water it's warmer. But I suppose islands have a lot less snow than mainland, so I kind of get that. They're saying that they have temperatures in YAKUTSK more like Antarctica, that Svalbard doesn't, and that's in the North Pole. So it's all a bit, yeah. Anyway, those are some graphs. And their temperatures in the summer get a lot hotter, but just not for so long. So no one sort of sees them as a hot place except for those 3 months in the summer because they have so much winter or cold. But I think this place is colder than Svalbard. But Svalbard is an island and this is mainland, if you get my drift on that bit. Anyway, to go over, so that's just showing you the differences where they're up there. I think they're up there somewhere. But I picked these two young men. I have written to them a few times and they wrote back, very nice of them. Just to show you how cold it is there. So we'll just take a couple of minutes of their video to show how cold it is. I've had quite a few views. Watched most of their videos. I was very interested in where they'd gone, and they lived there for a year. Well, there you can see it is very icy, but there's the date, the 18th of the 1st, 2020. I think they got there in 2019 because it said so in the airport. That's the date they filmed this, and Cecilia is only coming into November. It's the 1st of November today, so she's only that far, so she's at least a couple of months behind. But thank you very much to WHV Nomads, and here's a little bit more video.
Alright, so we're currently in Yakut, which is the coldest city in the world. Now we're like inside the main square. It's currently minus 42.
Oui, Google indique moins 39. J'ai pas envie d'aller dehors. Il va falloir y aller.
Oh, it's minus 39 outside, so it's the first time ever I get this kind of temperature.
Première fois que je traverse un couloir comme ça d'avion qui fait aussi froid.
Instantly made me cough.
Oh, ça déboîte la gorge. Allez, c'est parti. On sort, j'ai peur. Bon gros choc thermique. Wow. Oh là là. Faut pas respirer avec la bouche. Good. Alors l'air est super sec, hein. Ça démonte le nez, ça démonte.
Minus 39 and you can actually say it's minus 39. I don't know how to describe it, but it's very funny.
Oh là là, oh, c'est pire que je pensais, hein. On avait déjà fait moins 32 quelque chose. Oh là là.
Oh my God. Ah, c'est très drôle.
Ah, c'est marrant.
Or keep their car locked up all winter in a warm place, because if the cold gets in, it destroys the engine. And I mean, look at the temperature differences in the summer to the winter here. I don't think it's quite like that in Svalbard. It's not as extreme as here. And here is the third pole of the Earth. Well, it's in the Himalayas, and there you go, the third pole, it's in the Himalayas. But that's because it's so tall, so high up, and that's why that's like it is. But we're going to look at some temperatures in a minute. And just to say that if it was the global thing, Oh, there you go. Let's do this bit first. This is saying it gets over 100 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer and minus 40 in the winter. So really, that's colder than Svalbard. And Cecilia has been building, like, she lived in a little, what do you call it, cabin, and they've just now made their cabin twice as big, and she lives right on the edge by the sea. So how could she be worrying about global warming? Look, you can see how close she is to the sea. They're not worried about global warming. Place in Russia and the place in the Himalayas are generally colder than Svalbard, and Svalbard's in the North Pole. And these two, well, one's because of the height and one's because of the tundras coming over and makes the air so cold. But don't you think that's quite incredible that they're not actually at, you know, like Cecilia will be called the North Pole, but you don't say that, you just say Siberia. And I don't think a lot of people realise that Siberia is colder. It's almost as cold as Antarctica. They don't really say very much about that, do they? But anyway, to get my drift about this whole video, it all just doesn't add up. And China's well inland and has this very cold bit. Until we wake up and realise there are hot places and cold places. I'll say it one more time as this is the video ending. You've got the Andes, cold in a hot country. You've got the Alps, they get cold in winter in hot countries, France and Spain. And you've got the Himalayas, which is surrounded by India and China, and they're hot countries and they're cold. So if I took you to any one of those three places and said, this is Antarctica and it goes on forever, you would believe me that maybe a couple of 100 miles up the road, it could be really warm. And yes, the temperatures in Antarctica are a bit colder, but we've now got that place in Russia and the Himalayas almost at the same temperatures, and they aren't Antarctica. So you see what I mean? Hopefully you get what I'm trying to say. Thanks very much for watching this video. Thank you, Cecilia and the Nomads. And what's your thoughts to all this temperature and poles and North Pole, and what's the point of calling Svalbard the North Pole if it's colder in Siberia? Surely they should be calling Siberia the North Pole. Anyway, and at one point they say this place, and also Antarctica used to have Mediterranean weather like the UK. So what, are we slowly turning round or something? Slowly, I mean, very slowly. But anyway, what's your thoughts? Thanks very much.